is gone and hope is sure. Christ is mine forevermore.
Like this. What is your greatest recommendation for aspiring Korean American academicians? Did I pronounce that correctly? Because I'm not one. Okay. Academicians.
Yeah. If there's anything else you can do, do it. Honestly. One, because it's a very crowded market to begin with. It's very competitive, and it's a lot of work for not a lot of pay, and not a lot of glory too, actually. So all that to say, I think you really need to be called to it. Really be called to a life where you like to read, where you like to study, where you like to write, where you like to teach. I'm not even sure if I'm the best at that, but the one part about my academic work that I really enjoy is the mentoring relationship. That's really the best part. And so when people ask me what I do, I say I'm a pastor that teaches at a seminary. Yes, I'm a professor, and I have been for almost 20 years, but for me, because I teach at a seminary, that's one of the joys I have, is speaking into the lives of young future pastors and leaders about what it means to be a train wreck that's saved by grace. And learning from that and doing everything you can to be faithful and fruitful wherever God may call you. But having said that, another piece of advice that was really important for me as I was thinking about this career path was that for those of you that are thinking about academics, is make sure that your spouse is fully on board. Statistically, only 40% of people who start their PhD actually finish it. It's going less and less every year. Because think about it, by the time you start a PhD, you're at a certain age, late 20s, early 30s. You're starting a family, you don't have a lot of money, and you're going to study for 6-7 years on one project. You have to be committed. Your wife has to be committed. I don't know how many times I wanted to quit. I had my MDiv in hand, I had a great education, I wanted to be a pastor. What in the world am I doing studying 17th century Anglican rationalism? Honestly. For 6 years. And somehow, because of my wife, I plowed through, because she also felt this is where God has called me and gifted me. So how many times you said, keep pressing, keep pressing. Such a faithful life to God's call in both of our lives. So that was a piece of advice that I got that was so helpful. Be committed, make sure your wife is committed, and if there's anything else you can do, do it. Because it's hard, it really is hard. Anyway, and those are some thoughts.
Yeah, I'm going to give the opposite advice. There is nothing better than to be an academician. Especially if that's where the Lord's called you, absolutely. If you're a writer and you're a researcher, you're probably better with reading than you are with people. You probably shouldn't be a pastor. It's probably better writing. So know your gift, know yourself, read the room. Make sure that you are able to, that's your gifting, right? I mean, it's that mismatch that I think is critical. There are people who are just better reading and writing than they are, and they have a lot to offer. So here's the challenge as a Korean American. Everybody wants to be a chicken feather, right? Taktal, taktal, taktal king. I've been hanging around James too long. There's this whole thing in a Korean culture, Asian culture of, embracing education and having the highest possible degree, whether you want it or not, right? So those are things that maybe you grew up with a steady diet of people saying go as far as you can in education, whether you're going to use it or not. That's how I grew up. So it wasn't a matter of what I would do. It wasn't a matter of if I would get a degree, it would be in what field. Right? So that, I'm confessing where my parents said, of course that's what you have to do. Because you're not going to be a businessman, so you should pursue something like that. And others as well. But I think part of the challenge is if you're a writer and you like to write, then write. That's actually what God has given you to do. You're responsible for the community to do that. And I'm in a place where I'm just saying we need more Korean American voices to understand and apply scriptural truths in our lives. Because I am quite tired, my wife and I were talking about this, tired of contextualizing readings. And I'm going to do it anyway. And if you're good at contextualizing it and saying it back in writing, then everyone else would be blessed by it. So I want you to consider pursuing this, not as a fallback because ministry didn't work out, and it should be the first thing we should do. I want to see more writers and more authors. Now you have a special burden, because some people just want to be famous. They want to get big books and all these things. That cannot be the motivation. If 2 or 3 people read it, and it's a blessing to them, then that's what God's called you to. So you might not be famous, but don't equate writing with fame.
Can I say one more thing? just in case you think I'm trying to discourage you. I'm not trying to do that. Not Tony Kim. That's good, actually. That's really good. But you got to remember my context. I serve at a seminary, and more than 2/3 of the students that are there are preparing for the pastoral ministry through the MDiv program. And so it's usually MDiv students that come to my office and say, hey, I'm thinking about a PhD, I'm thinking about a career in academics. And to be honest, there's a part of me that just recoils at that, because we actually need more pastors. Christ has one bride, and it's not the academy. Christ has one bride, it's not the university, it's the church. And it's through the church God's kingdom will expand. We need leaders of the church. And so every time I step into my classroom, I think, one of these men may be my children's pastor. And that scares me and excites my work. You know what I'm saying? I go, one of these guys can be my children's pastor. Yikes, I better do my job. I better do my job well. But at the same time, I'm so excited, because they have the wonderful opportunity of being train wrecks, but bring out the word of grace and see lives change and the dead come to life. What other job can you see the dead come to life? You have the opportunity to put that on your resume. I'm involved with Resurrection Life. And then explain what you do. There's no other job. You preach the word faithfully, even though you're a train wreck. And the Lord raises people to life. That's what we need. And so I hope you understand my motive for saying that. Because a lot of my students, unfortunately, think that the academic world is very glamorous. And so they're going into it, I think, for the wrong reasons, or it's easier. And so all that to say, if you're called to it, you've got the gifting for it, you have the opportunities, you have the right desires, yeah, absolutely, go for it. You need to do what God has called you to do. But usually, in my 20-year experience at the seminary, the gifts are not there, the desire isn't quite right, let alone the opportunity. And the Lord, I just pray, Lord, send out your laborers to the harvest. That's so I hope you understand my motive for saying that.
That's great.
Rejoice now, oh my soul, for His love is my reward. Fear is gone and hope is sure.